My pronouns are USA.
God bless her. God bless America here as we head down the home stretch to the 4th of July.
Yes, and welcome to Get Real America. I am Brittany Brown.
I'm Bill Edwards.
And if you don't know who that is, her name is Olivia Dunn, and she is an LSU gymnast and actually one of the most sought after college athletes as of 2022. And that was her at a NASCAR race this weekend, being very patriotic. And I think it's so nice to finally see some of these young people coming out and being very public about how proud they are to be an American. Exactly.
Need more of that, and more people of her ilk to come along and say that stuff, because there's a people that the young people look to, and it's somebody that the parents can say, look, see, that there is hope for this country, and people do appreciate it, and they are proud to be Americans.
Yes, more of that.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, of course, there is always something going on here in the state of Georgia. We have some exciting news. Spalding County has actually decided to, they have removed funding for the electronic machines here. I believe it was $85,000. And I'm just going to read the press release from Georgians for Truth. And they have an initiative to go to paper ballot. So
now, is it an initiative, or they've decided to do it all together?
So they are helping with the statewide initiative, but Spalding County is the one that has decided. The County Board of Commissioners, they voted 5-0 to defund electronic voting systems, removing $85,000 from the election board's budget. They gave consent for the Spalding County Board of Elections to take whatever action they deem reasonable, prudent to carry out open, fair, and transparent elections, to include using paper ballots instead of the flawed machines. I think that this is a really big win in Georgia, especially because we know that the Secretary of State's office has definitely put a lot of pressure on our Board of Elections to keep these machines and to also not audit things. So this is a huge win. I'm hoping that we start to see a lot more people going this route, but you never know.
Mm-hmm.
You never know.
That's
you never
true.
know what's going to happen. So
exactly.
The other thing that I think is interesting just about the elections is, Bill, in Georgia, we've eliminated a lot of things, but there's still a lot of problems with the elections. And I think one of the things that we've talked about a couple times is the Halderman report.
Mm-hmm.
It came out, it was unsealed last week, and it's so important for people to go look at it, because I think once you see all of the flaws with it, you're going to be very concerned about our elections, especially since the report was released. It also tells people how you can mess with the machines, which I think is very concerning.
Yeah, it is, very much so. And I was worried about this from the time that they started saying that they were going to go to these machines. And I said, that don't fix what ain't broke, because the machines that we had were doing just fine at that point. And there's no need to spend all this money. Think of how much money this stuff costs. That you have the machine itself, which can be manipulated, and they swear it can't because it's not online. Well, you've got something in there.
Except for it transmits data.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, except for that. But then you have to have the separate, all the other accessories that have to go along with it. So that's all the touchscreen stuff that has to be purchased. And then you have these copy machines, and that has to have certain kind of paper. How much paper, we're supposed to be this paperless society now. It's working out well, isn't it? But imagine all the paper that goes into these things. And then they have to, and then they put it in, and then you have to have the screen, the device that actually reads what's on that paper.
Well, and here's the other thing. The QR codes make me super nervous, because that's what the scanner is reading. It's not actually reading your vote.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you're getting is a receipt of your ballot, which I think is, not a great thing. But Scott Pressler, he has been in the fight for elections for the past, I think, 2 to 5 years. And he's going across the country. He's doing a lot of great things, but he brought up a lot of data that I think is really important for us to look at. And I think we have that video
mm-hmm.
now.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? For example, a person who receives a mail-in ballot is 86% more likely to vote. That's just the math. That's just the numbers. And so that's what we're presented with. An election day voter is 53% likely to vote. So any mail-in voter is 33% more likely to vote than an election day worker. So my goal, our goal, is we want to make sure that we're focusing on low propensity voters. Those are people that have voted 0 times out of 4 years, 1 time out of 4 years, or 2 times out of 4 years. And our goal is to contact those low propensity voters, get them on the permanent mail-in ballot list, and then when their vote is shipped and mailed to them, they will have an 86% more likely chance of voting in the election than if we were just expecting.
So I think that those are huge numbers, Bill.
Yeah.
And that's why we've seen Democrats be very, very successful, because we're still trying to earn votes, and they're collecting votes. Big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're able to ballot chase, you still can ballot chase in the state of Georgia. You cannot ballot harvest. But ballot chasing is where you know someone that has requested an absentee ballot, and you're able to contact them and ask them, hey, do you have any questions about your ballot? Will you send that back in?
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of calling them and making sure that they vote, which I think we've gone so far away from what this was supposed to be. This was supposed to be something that you should be proud to do and that you're excited to do. And now we're, convincing people that they need to vote when really it should be, a privilege.
Yeah, this comes back to the Civics 101 of saying that it is your obligation. That's the most important thing you do as a citizen in this country, is to vote. People have stood in line in these other countries for the first time that they've given a chance to vote. They've stood in line for hours, if not days. It happened in South Africa. It happened in. It always amused me that it happened in Iran when they're standing in line for hours, and mortar shells are falling all around, machine gun fire going on, but they're standing in line to vote. They think it's that important, and they don't. They can't go back and vote twice because they get the purple thumb. So I think
let's go back to that.
Let's go back to the purple thumb. Here we could get the purple ink people a little extra cash.
Yeah, and on that note, we do have a Board of Registrars meeting today. They did move it to online. But
yeah, it was supposed to be at noon. We were going to be a big thing about people showing up on the Board of Registrars, and they decided, oh well, maybe we'll just do it virtually.
Yes, and I think that that's a huge problem, Bill, because I do think that they can control things a lot more. They can make it so no one can speak.
No.
On a Zoom meeting. I think that that's maybe the goal, but I can't for sure say that. But I just think it's interesting that it was moved last minute to virtual. So if you're able to jump on that call today.
It kind of reminds me, long before the pandemic,
the good old days.
Yeah, the good old days. When I was doing my radio show, I was recording a session that they had for us online. Well, actually on the phone, but it was the multiple call-in lines from reporters. They were asking journalists, which we don't have very many, so I figured, well, there couldn't be many calls.
Yeah.
So we had that, but there was this lady minister, or woman minister. I don't think she was a lady, but maybe a woman. And it had something to do with the left-leaning portions of the church, about how a lot of the communist people in the pulpit these days. Mm-hmm. And so you punched a button to ask a question. If you have a question, punch 1, and and you'll be zoomed in, or whatever. We didn't call it zooming in those days, but I had a question, and I kept punching 1. They never came to me. They went to about 4 other different people, but they didn't come to me for some reason. She goes, they were talking, because she was talking about how the LGBTQ X04, and but I believe it was the Presbyterian Church at the time was allowing bishops who were gay to that sort of thing. And so I was going to ask a question, but somehow they never came to me.
Couldn't be that they probably knew who you were.
Mm.
Mary's with us this morning, and she says, didn't a judge find the Dominion ballot marking device illegal because voters can't read the QR code? Yes, they should be removing the QR code from what I understand. However, I will say there have been a lot of court cases that have deemed these machines unconstitutional, and yet we still have these machines. That's why I think going county by county is really where you're going to have the most success because I don't think the Secretary of State's office is willing to change anything. They just went to a new system called Jarvis, Garvis. If you look that up, it's made it so you can't. A lot of the voter data has been scrambled, and there's some duplicating that's gone on, and also a lot of you can't, like, if it says that you voted, it'd say you'd voted 0 times out of the last 4 years because it doesn't have all the historical data. So it's kind of a mess. They're not really talking about it, but you should definitely get educated on that Jarvis system. It's really important that we understand what's going on with our elections.
And get involved. And that's why they were asking people to show up for this Board of Registrars meeting today, which is now going to be online. So, but go online. Yes. And see what you can do.
Well, when they have 100 people on the call, I think that they'll be like, oh, this is going to be an issue.
Yeah. And it's, we're talking about, it's noon today, by the way.
Yes.
So that's when they're doing it. So check it out.
It's really convenient for everyone.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Bill?
Board of Registrars. Yeah. Very convenient.
Yeah. They do these meetings in the most convenient time.
I mean, you'll be at lunch.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Take your lunch break.
You got nothing else to do but eat lunch.
Right. And on July 10th, there will be a Board of Elections meeting. Board of Elections in Chatham County handles the Dominion machines and also handles how we carry out our election here in Chatham County. And on the Board of Registrar side, they take care of the voter rolls and the Connex system, which is where poll workers' information is listed and poll watchers' information. And that came out last year that there was actually all of that data was stored in China. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that that's good for the state of Georgia.
Well, there's security if there ever was one.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Mm-hmm. So I mean,
it's kind of like it's kind of like some ballots that were collected and harvested here some years ago, and they were stored for safety at the Civil Rights Museum here.
Oh.
Yeah, in the basement of the Civil Rights Museum. So no problem there.
Yeah. So there are some things we could do to clean up our elections. I think that it's imperative that we do so. 2024 is around the corner, and they're coming for Trump at every level. And it's interesting because you are not seeing them focus on any other candidate, which I think should put everyone's little antennas up.
Yeah, they're not. And the Communist News Network aired this phone call apparently that he had. How about they haven't aired any of the 15 phone calls that we've had between Hunter Biden and the Communist Chinese. I wonder why. But
interesting question.
But yeah, journalism may say that. Of course, the guy that tried to fix things at CNN got fired. So there's that. Encouraging words though for you as we approach the 4th of July.
Oh, I like that.
Which is on Tuesday, but on Sunday, the Savannah Wind Symphony is going to do its annual Let Freedom Ring concert.
Yes.
That's going to be now, if you don't have tickets by now, you may not be able to get them, but you might want to try. It's going to be at the Armstrong campus of Georgia Southern University, right here in Savannah. And it's that beautiful fine arts auditorium that they have here, but there's very limited seating. There's not I think there's only about 750 seats. So yeah, you better make plans to have your tickets, get your tickets now.
Are you planning on going?
Yeah.
Well,
so
can't wait to hear about it.
They at one point they asked me if I might want to be an MC, and they haven't gotten back to me, but I'm not bitter. All right, coming up next.
You know, those whistleblowers are coming out of the woodworks against Joe Biden.
And don't we love whistleblowers? Well, maybe not.
Only if it doesn't benefit the Republicans.
That's right. Yeah.
So we'll be right back.
At Get Real America, we are focused on Savannah, but we'd like to hear from other communities as well. We have a lot in common.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Hump Day, here we are, Wednesday, 28th day of June.
Yes, and it is 4th of July weekend. I hope you all are doing something fun. There's a lot to do in Savannah.
Yep. A lot of places are going to be closed Monday and Tuesday since 4th of July is on a Tuesday this year.
Yes.
So there's a long weekend coming up ahead, and hope you're going to enjoy it and do something patriotic and enjoy, maybe even if you don't have fortunate enough to get tickets to the Savannah Wind Symphony. You can. There are a lot of other things that are going to be doing and that you can take care of, and just go out and celebrate America.
Yes, I love that. Well, the other thing that I think is interesting, we're starting to see, the mainstream media all of a sudden, able to report on whistleblowers.
Yeah. It's unbelievable when the evidence gets so overwhelming. It's like the Monica Lewinsky thing, because it was broken on the National Enquirer, which is one of those papers that used to have these things.
Roll your eyes.
Yeah, because they used to have these big headlines that two-headed man sings in stereo. Guy's toaster was possessed. A 70-year-old a survivor of the Titanic is found floating in the ocean, hasn't aged a day. Used to have great headlines like that. And here comes this Monica Lewinsky thing, and it's just the National Enquirer. Remember Ted Koppel and ABC when they were still doing Nightline in those days? They had all sorts of interns come in from they'd gathered because they were in Washington anyway. So had all these interns come in and said, "Oh, it's not possible to get that close to the president. This is all just hooey." When it finally got to the point where it was overwhelming, they said, "Oh, we've got this breaking news now." I always love this breaking news thing when Rush Limbaugh had been talking about it for 6 months.
Well, I think that's the other thing.
This is going to get so overwhelming. You can't unring a bell, and you can't put this genie back in the bottle.
Well, I think with all the Hunter Biden stuff coming out and all of that, I think that they're finally like, okay, we need to get rid of Joe Biden, and I think that they're going to swing in a Gavin Newsom. That's my prediction. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm sorry, but it might be Kamala Harris.
No, she is the. Nope, it will never happen. You want to know why? She's the most disliked vice president.
Oh,
ever
yeah.
In history.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
So they got to roll someone else out.
Yeah,
She's
over the
not gonna
top,
do
brilliant.
it.
Yeah, but they used to love whistleblowers in the media. Whistleblowers and these secret, these hidden camera investigations, loved those until the tables were turned, and then, oops-a-daisy, this is a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yes. Well, and this is Gary Shapley talking about some of the stuff that he found in his investigation.
Mm-hmm.
If this was any other person, they likely would have already served their sentence.
Gary Shapley was a lead IRS supervisory agent in Operation Sportsman, the investigation into Hunter Biden. Shapley said he uncovered conduct that warranted more serious charges.
There were personal expenses that were taken as business expenses. Prostitutes, sex club memberships, hotel rooms for purported drug dealers.
How much did Hunter Biden owe in taxes?
So from 2014 to 2019, it was $2.2 million.
The back taxes were paid off, and last week, the Trump-appointed U.S. Attorney in Delaware, David Weiss, reached an agreement with Hunter Biden. The president's son would admit to a firearm charge and plead guilty for his failure to pay taxes. If a judge signs off, the deal means no jail time.
Testimony we have just released details a lack of U.S. Attorney independence.
And Shapley told lawmakers that U.S. Attorney Weiss was blocked from bringing stronger charges. But U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland said last week that Weiss was not.
I say he was given complete authority to make all decisions on his own.
I documented exactly what happened, and it doesn't seem to match what the Attorney General or the U.S. Attorney are saying today.
Shapley provided lawmakers this contemporaneous email he wrote after an October meeting last year. Shapley says Weiss told him the opposite, that Weiss is not the deciding person on whether charges are filed.
It was just shocking to me.
Shapley, who is still working for the IRS, told us that even before President Biden took office, he was directed to avoid leads involving Hunter's father.
There were certain investigative steps that we weren't allowed to take that could have led us to President Biden.
And you wanted to take them?
We needed to take them.
And you weren't allowed to take them?
That's correct.
It is important to point out that at that point in Shapley's investigation, Donald Trump was still president, and his Attorney General, William Barr, had rules in place that may have limited what Shapley could pursue. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware had no comment. As for Hunter Biden, his attorneys did not respond to us, but he said before in a statement that he is taking responsibility for mistakes he made during a period of turmoil in his life. Nora?
Jim Axelrod, thank you.
There he is with Nora O'Doofus.
Yeah.
But CBS finally waking up and smelling the coffee. But
yeah,
and I also saw an interview. Brett Baer did an interview with the whistleblower there as well. He said, "Why are you doing this? Why are you coming forward with this? Why are you putting your life on the line?" And you know, he's signing all these affidavits. I mean, he could go to jail himself.
Yeah.
And he said, because it's fair. He said everybody should be treated fairly. And that's what I believe. He said, I believe in America, and I believe everybody should be treated fairly, and this isn't being done. Oh, and by the way, the media keeps, you keep repeating a lie long enough, people start to believe it. This Weiss character was not a Trump appointee. He was an Obama appointee. And they keep leaving that conveniently out. Trump approved him staying, but on the recommendation of the two Democrat senators from Delaware when he took office, because you see, Republicans, Donald Trump didn't come in with a particular agenda except drain the swamp, and Republicans don't usually have a 18-wheeler load of left-wing lawyers coming in that they're going to appoint to special positions. He just said, okay, well, the guy's been here, he was appointed, I guess he's doing a good job. The two senators from Delaware saying that, keep the guy, so they did. He was not a Trump appointee. Trump kept him. He was an Obama appointee. Thank you very much. Get the story straight.
Yeah, they always try to misrepresent things. And the thing about it is
lying with statistics.
Well, I also look at this and think, why all of a sudden are they allowed to start talking about this stuff? Because, I mean, if this happened while Trump was in office, why didn't he come forward then?
Exactly.
So it's almost like they got permission, like you're not allowed to talk about this because it's going to help whatever agenda they have going on, which, in my opinion, like I said earlier, I think Gavin Newsom is their guy, and I think that they're trying to make sure that Joe Biden does not run again because they know we can't win.
Mm-hmm. Well, if Gavin can do for America what he's done for California and San Francisco, we're in for a real treat.
We're in for a wild ride, I'll tell you that much.
If you like living in Haiti, you're going to find out just exactly what it's like.
Well, and, they do not want RFK Jr. They do not want him.
Boy.
They want him to go away. They're not airing a lot of his stuff right now. Like,
YouTube has just banned him again.
Well, shocking.
Because he said he's been uncovering all this stuff that they're not talking about, and he said that why should the big tech be in charge of all this stuff where they can manipulate elections? And YouTube said, well, that's against our policies here. We approve of interfering with elections, and we're going to take you off.
Yep, YouTube is horrible. But I have heard that there are a lot of big names actually moving away from YouTube and going to Rumble because of all the censorship. And we need to prevent them from being able to silence anyone for this election, including Tucker Carlson, who has been wonderful in releasing his videos almost daily. But
got a bigger following now than we've on Fox.
Yep. Well, because they're short and they're concise. It's one story that he's researched. Lizzie Warren's with us this morning, and she says, bingo, Dems decided Biden is done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly right.
Yeah, exactly. And just speaking of rulings and everything, did you see the latest, the final episode on Jeffrey Epstein?
That he called his mother?
Yeah. Well, who'd been dead for 2.5 years. So they must have had a seance there in the shower. But they apparently, everything, he did commit suicide, despite the fact that the night before, his cellmate was taken out. They said this guy should never be alone, but yet his cellmate was moved to a different cell, so he was alone. The cameras on his cell just happened to be down for maintenance. The people who were supposed to check on him every half hour didn't check on him for over 8 hours. Nobody in the history of that facility, it's always amazed me, you've got this maximum security facility in the middle of downtown New York, but nobody in the history of this facility had ever committed suicide, ever. But Jeffrey Epstein did.
Well, and that black book has never been released on who was in it. Mm-hmm. Apparently, Ghislaine Maxwell, apparently she trafficked children to no one.
Yeah.
So she is doing time for her crime, but
maybe she was just foster parenting.
Oh, yeah. Well, you don't get arrested for that. So
there you go.
So I think that that's a huge problem. I think that there's a lack of transparency in a lot of this stuff, and you can clearly see that there are more things that we need to know. Because here's the thing: when people aren't transparent, that's where you start to get a lot of the wild conspiracy theories. Because I've also heard, people are like, I don't really think he's dead. I think that he's been moved somewhere and he's living his best life, because there's no cameras. There's
Live O'Reilly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think when you don't provide transparency, it allows people to run away with their own imaginations. We're storytellers by nature. So We'll make up our own story. Mary says the only people that would be happy with Gavin replacing Biden are Californians. And I don't even know if Californians would be super happy with that, because I will tell you that
I'm not sure
it's
that
a third
either.
world country over there.
Yeah, it is awful. That's why people are leaving by the tens of thousands every day.
Yep, I'm just hoping that they're not voting for Democrats, but some people don't learn.
You got to remember that your vote actually does mean something.
Yes.
And when you start correlating that, that's when you wake up and smell the coffee.
Yeah, well, there's a lady that was from Georgia, lived in California for 15 years, and came back, and she's like, I never thought that I could say this out loud, but Georgia's elections are more corrupt than California's. She said that over the weekend, and I was shocked. But I have no proof, but that was her testimony about it. But
But let's hear it for Spalding County.
Yes, they are going
to the paper ballots.
Well, they haven't said they're doing paper ballots, but
at least
they cannot do the voting machines. They've taken $85,000 out of their budget. So
good enough.
But I think the next steps, we'll continue to report on what Spalding's going to do, but I believe that they will go to hand-counted security sealed
maybe
paper ballots.
Kind of like Iowa. Maybe we can have a caucus. Show of hands.
Yeah, that's the thing.
There you go.
That's what we should be doing.
Can't vote twice.
No. And we got to jump to break, but they're talking about impeaching Merrick Garland, which I think would be a good thing, but they're also avoiding a couple of other things. So we'll talk about that when we get back.
Mayorkas too.
Drew, I didn't think this was supposed to be a serious show.
When I grow up, I want to work for a woke company, like super woke.
When I grow up,
I want to be hired based on what I look like,
rather than my skills.
I want to be judged
by my political beliefs.
I want to get promoted
based on my chromosomes. When I grow up, I want to be offended
by my coworkers
and walk around the office
on eggshells
and have my words policed
by HR. Words like
grandfather,
peanut gallery,
long time no see,
no can do.
When I grow up,
I want to be obsessed with emotional safety and do workplace sensitivity training all day long.
When I grow up, I want to climb the corporate ladder.
Just by following the crowd.
I want to be a conformist. I want to weaponize my pronouns. What are pronouns?
It's time to grow up and get back to work. Introducing the #1 woke-free job board in America, redballoon.work.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Happy Hump Day. By the way, once again, Brittany, the only thing that I have to thank the turtle for, the minority leader in the Senate, is keeping Merrick Garland off the extreme court.
100% agreed, even though it pains me to say that I could thank Mitch McConnell for anything because I think that he's horrible. But.
Yeah, well, but at least, even a stop clock's right twice a day. And this was a good one. Keeping Merrick Garland off the Supreme Court was the best thing that he ever did in his career.
Yes, I agree. He's been horrible AG.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, we have seen them weaponize the Justice Department, even though we have a lot of Republicans that don't like that phrase. I don't know what else to refer to it as.
Yeah, really. What else do you call it?
I mean, and they're costing us so much money with all of this ridiculous behavior.
Without a doubt.
And I know that that's not a fun topic to talk about, but at the end of the day, taxpayers should get a return on our investment, and we are not.
You never hear the Democrats never seem to care about how much money is being spent, unless, of course, when Trey Gowdy was a congressman from South Carolina. That was a great show on Fox on Sunday night. But he when he was doing the Benghazi hearings, and they were fussing and fighting. Oh, that was a long time ago. Please, you look at all this taxpayer money that's being wasted on this this waste of time here with the wildebeest.
Well, that's the thing. If they were allowed to actually do a good investigation, would we have ever seen Hillary run in 2016? Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I do think that it was a sham investigation because they weren't allowed to go as far as they needed to go.
Yeah, she ought to be in Leavenworth.
Well.
Along with her husband.
Yeah,
and several others. Barack Obama with him.
Yeah, well, I saw a thing the other day that said, I feel bad for Hillary Clinton. 56 of her closest friends have committed suicide.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Or died in some sort of an accident of some kind. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Interestingly enough, did you hear that, I think his name is Jim Crown? Do you know who that is?
Jim Crown.
Yeah, he was a board member of JP Morgan Chase, and he was actually killed earlier this week Big Obama White House guy, I believe he was the head of intelligence. He was on the intelligence board when he was in the White House. But
he was out practicing on a NASCAR type thing. He was driving, and there was a crash, and they said he died of blunt force head trauma.
Multiple, though, which
Yeah.
I thought was an interesting, And I think we actually have that clip.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Businessman James Crown has died. He died in a single vehicle accident at the Aspen Motorsports Park in Colorado. Crown collided with an impact barrier. The official cause of death is pending an autopsy, but the coroner's office says multiple blunt force trauma was evident. Crown was part of the billionaire Crown family and owned Aspen Skiing Company. He was 70 years old.
Actually, it was his 70th birthday.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Well, and the timing of things, sometimes you just have to wonder sometimes, Bill,
Don't you, though?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, but getting back to Merrick Garland, yes. Which we'll hope he'll go to Leavenworth, but he's may be impeached. Thank you, Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Miranda Devine says that Joe Biden met with his business partners 12 times. 12 different times and 12 different deals, perhaps. So it's according to Rob Walker, who was in on all this stuff. Good friend. He's all over the laptop. So will this prompt you to do a impeachment inquiry?
Well, you apparently don't follow me on Twitter, because yesterday I laid out very, very clearly by July 6th, because of the allegations from the IRS, because of the whistleblowers and the DOJ, Garland, what he is saying and what David Weiss are saying privately are two different things.
Right.
And if it comes true what the IRS whistleblower is saying, we're going to start impeachment inquiries on the Attorney General.
Well,
Hallelujah.
Yeah, I think, Kevin McCarthy, couple of things I'm not happy with him about, but I will say, I hope that they actually will go all the way with a lot of these impeachments. And sometimes it's just about getting the information out there, because I don't know if they're actually going to be able to impeach him and remove him due to the Senate being where it's at. Thank you, everyone that decided they would not vote for Herschel Walker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm a little bitter.
How's that? Yeah.
I'm a little bitter.
How's that gotten us here with now that we've got Mr. Warnock in office?
Yeah, well, and Warnock's been pictured with Alex Soros. How does that make you feel, Bill? It makes me feel like, he sold us out, and he sold us out way before he got in office.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got the pictures.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mary McCann Hybrider says, Clinton side, ? I'm not sure if there's a Clinton connection there or not with Jim Crown, but you never know.
Well, you don't. Yeah, doesn't pay to be friends with the Clintons.
Nope, I don't know the Clintons and want nothing to do with them.
They're either committed suicide, they're dead, they are behind bars.
Yes,
for the most part.
Well, and I think that there are a lot of people in the federal government that need to be behind bars,
I agree.
especially when we're looking at the banking and how much they spent on bailing out these banks that didn't benefit the average American. It benefited the rich.
Mm-hmm. And guess what? Guess where some of those folks from the rich were from?
The unanimous vote to invoke the systemic risk exception to the FDIC's deposit limit. Was it warranted? Does it set a precedent for future crises?
I think it does. I mean, I think these banks were not systemic. Combined assets of $300 billion and a $23 trillion banking industry. The inference has been, the statement has been made that, well, they had to bail out the uninsured because they were worried about broader runs. But there's really no analysis to back that up. If that's true, bank regulators track deposit flows. They should be able to tell us what deposit outflows were like during the time period that these banks failed. It troubles me that they haven't provided that type of analysis. The other reason has been that, well, a lot of these startup companies needed access to their payroll accounts. Well, with an advanced dividend, they would have had access to a lot of liquidity anyway, using the FDIC's normal rules without any kind of bailout. And I got to tell you, kudos to Marty Gruenberg, the current chair of the FDIC, for a high level of transparency in his testimony. But he indicated there were $13.3 billion of deposits concentrated with 10 depositors. Those aren't small startups trying to get payroll. And you think about that, they're going to take it, they have about a 10% loss on the Silicon Valley failure. That's So they're not getting a 10% haircut. So that's $133 million per person. The FDIC, through a special assessment, is paying these very wealthy depositors. I think that's troubling. I do think they need a lot more explanation on this. They did what they did. Listen, I've been there. It's hard to make a decision. It's got to be a snap judgment sometimes. But boy, there's a lot of public cynicism about this, and they need to get more public information out about why, whether it was needed, whether other deposit runs, and who exactly is benefiting and by how much by the bailout of the uninsured, particularly like Silicon Valley.
Mm-hmm. And there's a spoiler alert to go along with this.
What's that, Bill?
These people that were being bailed out mostly were Chinese accounts.
Imagine that. I wonder who is really good friends with the Chinese that we know. Gosh, it's so hard to find those people.
Memory fails me, but I'm getting old.
Yeah, well, I think Biden's come to mind, but couldn't imagine why.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. The Biden crime syndicate.
Yes. And our friend Lizzie says, of course they bailed out the uninsured. Biden couldn't take a chance on those folks going on TV complaining about their losses. I think that's part of it, but I also think that he's corrupt and he's bought and paid for by the Chinese, even though, we heard for years that it was really Trump and Russia, but all these years it's really been Biden and China.
And China, yeah. And maybe even Ukraine.
Ukraine? So speaking of elections, guess who's not having one? They're in wartime. They can't have elections in Ukraine.
That's true. Yeah, you can't have an election during a war.
Well, they're fighting for democracy. It's so weird.
Yeah, even though we did here in the Civil War, we still had elections.
Well, because if you're being honest, you should have elections regardless.
Yeah, how unusual.
Yeah.
Well, let's see that. And speaking of money, another story breaking today about how much COVID money has been wasted. We're talking in the $20 billion range or more. And now they say there are multiple investigations going on of people who shouldn't have gotten that money. Oh, do you think? Shouldn't have done it in the first place.
Well, I think that's the other thing that, when are we going to learn our lesson? Do not allow the government to continue to raise our taxes and take our money because they don't know how to spend it and they just hand it out willingly. Yeah,
apparently not learning or not learning our lesson. And we've got and now we've got all these tapes that have come out of Hunter Biden talking to the Chinese officials and saying, my dad's sitting here right next to me. And as far as we know, that would be Joe Biden, and making threats if they don't send all these millions of dollars. But yet CNN, our friends at the Communist News Network, have managed to get a tape that Jack Smith provided on Donald Trump. This is this is amazing to me. That very few people have. Dan Bongino is the only one that I know of that has been airing those the Biden tapes on a regular basis on his radio show, and yet we haven't heard. We keep hearing about this conversation that Donald Trump had, and as part of the indictment, 37 counts on what most legal experts say should have been just one. That they just divided this all into different parts. We'll come back right after. We'll take a little pause here, and we'll come back and we'll show you that from Jack Smith. That's next.
Who is a kid? Well, that's a kid. And another. Look, a gaggle of them. Or is it a herd? Litter? Pride. But what about her? Tell her she's not a kid. Or him. So how do we tell who is a kid? Height? Age, maybe. But some of us have to grow up faster than others. A kid. A kid. A kid wants to make the world better. And one day, he just might. Is a kid fearless? Vulnerable? Strong? Nervous? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
Savannah, I'm coming home, Savannah.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934 with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Heading down the home stretch here on this hump day. And tomorrow we'll be visiting with Travis Chance, find out a little bit more about your money from CFG Wealth Management. And also we'll find out what's going on in the friendly or unfriendly skies. Aviation analyst Jay Ratliff will be with us as well as we head to the holiday weekend. How things going to be looking travel-wise there? Since we've gone back to pre-pandemic and beyond levels with fewer airplanes, fewer pilots, and maybe whether or not
angrier passengers too.
Yeah, that's right. But at least we're not, unlike in the pandemic when everyone was wearing masks. At least there haven't been any fights breaking out on airplanes that we've seen recently. Lately. Yeah, so they're leaving that, I guess, at the airports.
Yeah, and I'm just going to read some comments that we got this morning. Mm-hmm. Lizzie says, the smartest man Joe knows, Hunter Biden is good friends with the Chinese. Mm-hmm. Also, remember when Obama was sitting next to the Russian official saying, when I'm reelected, I'll have more flexibility? Yeah. That was Russian collusion.
Yeah, and why the stupid Republicans didn't take full advantage of that and put that in every campaign ad, I have no idea.
Because Republicans are horrible at messaging.
Yeah, well, also they're worried about being accused of being racist. You're already being accused of being racist.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Knock it off.
So, and then Mary McCann Hybrider says, everything they do, they accuse Trump of doing. Classic projection. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what we're seeing across the board.
So Jack Smith and the DOJ just leaked this Trump audio to the Communist News Network. And, of course, they have no compunction about not putting it on either.
These are bad, sick people.
That was your coup, against you.
Well, it started right at the beginning.
Like when Millie's talking about, you were going to try to do a coup. No, they were trying to do that before you even were sworn in. That's right. Trying to overthrow your election.
Well, with Millie, let me see that. I'll show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack Iran. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look. This was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, but they presented me this. This was him. This was the Defense Department and him. Wow. We looked at some. This was him. This wasn't done by me. This was him. All sorts of stuff. pages long. Look. Wait a minute. Let's see here. Look at that.
Yeah.
I just found, isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case, you know. Except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. But look at this. You attack, and
Hillary would print that out all the time, you know.
she'd send
Private
it.
email.
No, she'd send it to
Yeah.
Anthony Weiner,
Yeah.
the pervert.
Please print.
By the way, isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
I was just saying because we were talking about it, and you know, he said he wanted to attack Iran and what. These are the
You
papers.
did. It's
This was done by the military, given to me. I think we can probably, right?
I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to
Declassify
figure out
it.
yeah.
See, as president, I could have declassified
Yeah.
it. Now I can't, you know, but this is
Yeah,
classified.
now we have a problem.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, it's so, we here and I have, and you probably almost didn't believe me, but now you believe me.
No, I believe
It's
you.
incredible, right?
No,
Hey, bring some Cokes in, please.
Bring some Cokes in for them.
This is what you got? That's it?
So there's no video. We have no idea what documents they're looking at.
I don't even know who he's talking to.
Exactly. Well, and I think what we're going to find out is that they're going to ask what document was it, and they're going to be able to say that document didn't even exist in that location at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to see, this is what always happens. They will make something a big deal and then come to find out the way they've angled it isn't actually the way that it is. And but that's how we end up with Russia, and why people still think that Trump is a Russian asset. So like you said, tell a lie long enough and all of a sudden everyone believes it.
Yep. That was Goebbels, one of Hitler's lieutenants, or as the Reverend Al Charles refers to him as Gumpy.
Yeah. Well, and Lizzie says, by the way, talking about releasing information, Joe Biden outed SEAL Team 6 that was never supposed to be released.
Exactly.
And what happened to them all? All died on one helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
Never held accountable for that, was he?
No. And they weren't. Not only was it a one helicopter, it wasn't even supposed to be on that helicopter. There was they weren't supposed to be all in one place, and that was one of those vehicles that they're not supposed to. They shouldn't have been on that ship to begin with.
It's a bad deal. It's a very bad deal. But I
Yep.
will say, Trump, he's a fighter. He's always fighting back, and he has released an amazing campaign ad. I always wait for the next one to come out because I think he does a great job.
This one's great.
Former President Donald Trump has been indicted. This makes him the first former U.S. president in history to be indicted on federal charges.
The only indictment that should be coming down is against President Biden for whatever he was doing as vice president.
I don't think Joe Biden thinks he can beat Donald Trump, so he's got to destroy him. This is election interference.
If you get in the way of the Democratic Party, they will target you, they will come after you, and they will try and destroy your life.
Donald Trump now moving forward with his campaign, not letting this indictment slow him down.
Never before have the two standards of justice in our country been more starkly revealed. But they will fail and we will win bigger and better than ever before. When you arrest your leading political opponent, we no longer have a democracy. They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. They're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way, and I will never be moving.
He will never be moving out of the way. I
Exactly.
love that.
Yeah.
They do movie quality campaign ads. They do a great job. I think that his are some of the best out there.
They are really terrific. Tim Scott's got a new one out. We'll show you later. But his campaign, he's got no chance, of course. But the points that he makes in his political ads, I love his analogy of going from cotton to Congress in one generation. That his father grandfathers were picking cotton, and he just talked about his grandfather's belief in America. His that we will fulfill our promise to everyone being equal.
Well, and I think that Tim Scott's story is incredible, as well as Larry Elder. He talks about the relationship with his father.
Exactly.
And
you mean the blackface of white
yes,
supremacy?
That's him.
Yeah,
That's
Larry
him.
Elder. Yeah, that's
Yes.
the guy. Yeah.
But the relationship he had with his father was so damaged. And then when he finally figured out why his father was the way that he was, I mean, it's just an incredible story. So if you have an opportunity to read his book, I mean, just amazing.
Yeah, good guy, good guy.
Yes, but they also talk about, the fact that, them getting jobs and things like that, but they were never racist against white people. They never hated anyone. So I think that it's just such a positive message, and I think one that we should be pushing out there, because they're going to keep trying to divide us, and we gotta push back. We should not be divided in this country.
Exactly right. That's why I call it the United States of America. But right now we're the divided states of America, and that can't continue. Abraham Lincoln made that pretty clear when he was in office. Meanwhile, another great politician that's in office now has decided that communists and socialists are not welcome in his state.
Senator Rick Scott here. Let me give you a travel warning. If you're a socialist, communist, somebody that believes in big government, I would think twice. Think twice if you're thinking about taking a vacation or moving to Florida. We're the free state of Florida. We actually don't believe in socialism. We actually know people, and some people in our state lived under it, and we know people lived under socialism. It's not good. It's not good for anybody. So if you're thinking about it, if you think about coming to Florida and you're a socialist or communist, think twice. We like freedom, liberty, capitalism, things like that.
Yeah, things like that. So Senator Scott, thank you. The other Senator Scott.
Yes, I know. It gets kind of confusing with all their names sometimes.
It does, yeah.
But Rick Scott, I think that that's good messaging. But I also think, we need to push back this. So the Marxists, the thing that has surprised me the most, and I think I've never really studied Karl Marx because never really interested me, but he's a loser. He's a total and complete loser.
Yeah.
And people they're like, oh, Karl Marx, he's wonderful. He died in poverty. He was born into money and died in poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And you take Frederick Douglass, born the same year and was born a slave until he was 20 and died in the top 1%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the American story. That's the one we should be talking about.
That's capitalism. And Marx lived off of all of his friends. He was a freeloader. He was, I don't think...
and he's horrible to his wife.
Yeah. I mean, and he probably hadn't seen his feet in the last 20 years of his life.
Yep. So, I mean, pass it on.
Yeah.
Karl Marx was a loser. Don't follow him. Look at Frederick Douglass's life. Taught himself to read. Wrote 3 books and I think 3 biographies and 1 novel. 5 presidents. He was I'm trying to think of what he was. He was an advisor to them. 5 Republican presidents.
A co-conspirator.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So I'm sure that he, if you haven't read a book on him, he is fabulous. And, those are the stories we should be talking about, not Karl Marx.
Those are the heroes that we need to hold up. But to go back to one of the great quotes of all time, because Winston Churchill had a bunch of them talking about socialism. He said, socialism is a philosophy of failure, the creed of ignorance, and the gospel of envy. Its inherent virtue is the equal sharing of misery.
Okay, I actually really like that. I want to print that on a card and hand that to people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, goodness. Well, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much.
You could sit up all night and not think of that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, appreciate you guys tuning in. Remember to download the app, The Local Spin. We are carrying Candace Taylor's show, and we have a new show coming out next month. So we're hoping you guys can catch it there. You can also catch us on YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble is our preferred platform, and Spotify and Apple.
Tell all your friends, and for all folks giving you summer camps that I've contacted to say I'd like to do a story about you, please get back in touch, because nobody has yet. Thank you. See you tomorrow.